Now is the turning point of your life. Trepidation lingers as the familiar disappears, but embrace it. Revel in the tangled anxiety of the unknown. Great things await those that go in search. Manchester, this great city of trailblazing innovation, where revolutions find their heart and culture finds its soul, will subvert your expectations in the years approaching. These are the years where you'll discover who you are, the years where you'll start tackling society's biggest challenges and begin to make a difference to the world and the people around us. And if there's one thing we can guarantee, you too will change. You will grow. You're coming to a place that enables, empowers, inspires. A place that helps you realise the dreams that are sown here. Where your journey will intertwine and align with the paths of others, where the friendships you'll forge will last a lifetime. Here is a place where you'll grow to stand shoulder to shoulder with giants, side by side with friends. Break conventions, discover new ways of being curious, carve your own path. Pioneer your way of doing things because your way is the Manchester way. Whether you're coming from near or far, welcome to the University of Manchester.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for another SRT webinar. Today we're talking about engineering with Manchester University, which is one of the top 50 universities in the world to study engineering. We're happy to have Caroline Singer, who's part of the admissions department at Manchester, and Caroline is going to tell us all about engineering as a subject, career opportunities after you graduate, the application process, as well as what life is like as a student at Manchester. To the right of your screen, you're going to see the chat function, and I know we have people from all over the world with us today, so please say hi, let us know where you're from, and if you have any questions, write them in the chat and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to hand you over now to Caroline, who's going to start her presentation with a video. Hi, Caroline.
So my name is Caroline, and I am one of the international officers at the University of Manchester. It's brilliant to be able to welcome so many of you here today to this webinar hosted by SRT. I'm going to be talking to you today, like Rona mentioned, about the field of engineering, careers in engineering, and then I'll tell you a little bit about Manchester specifically. I've been recruiting engineering students for quite a long time, so although I'm not a specialist in the field, please do feel free to ask me any questions that you have in the chat, and Rona and I will discuss them at the end. We'll do our best to answer. So without further ado, we'll go over to the video now.
It's time to stellify. Be the focus, be the vision, be the brightest, the universe, be the future, be driven. There's 500,000 alumni in 190 countries across the globe, over 25 Nobel laureates. This is our genetic code. There's stardust in your DNA. You are a meteorite. You are the pen tempting words. You're the lens sensing light. Be 10,000 degrees. Be light years, travel in time. Be the star of the universe and shine, shine, shine. Be the star you are searching for. Illuminate the night. Be the success that you wish for and be quicker, be faster, be bright. And as the future dawns, you'll get brighter by the day. It's time to let the sun shine through you, star. Light the way. Make all the difference in every single thing you do. Stellify. It means to turn into a star. and the star that turns, it's you.
Hi again, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to show you a little bit about the agenda today. So as we mentioned at the start, first we're going to cover engineering as a career. I'll talk to you a little bit about why the University of Manchester, why our students like studying here, what it's like to be a student in our lovely city. I'll also tell you a little bit about the disciplines of engineering at Manchester. And then if you have any other questions at the end, then just let us know and we'll go through the questions that are posted in the chat. So I'm going to speak to you for around about hopefully 25 minutes, which should leave plenty of time at the end for questions. And as you can see on the screen, we have a poll here to find out who you are. So we would like to know if you are a future undergraduate student, so thinking about doing a bachelor's or an integrated master's, or if you're a future postgrad student, so thinking about doing a master's degree or a PhD, and that will help us kind of tailor the questions and answers that we give for you. So what is engineering? So I've put a little kind of thought bubble here on the screen, some of the words that are associated with a career in engineering. And you can see that there's lots and lots of different aspects. It's a really diverse career, which can lead to a lot of different job titles. And there's various different disciplines within engineering, different specialties, but the common theme throughout is the application of scientific principles to everyday life. What you will find when you are studying engineering at university, certainly at undergraduate level, is that it involves quite a lot of theory, and learning that theory will then allow you to apply that knowledge once you get into the world of work. So in short, engineering relates to designing, creating and maintaining the world around us. Engineering is literally everywhere that you look, from the buildings that we're sat in right now, to the roads in our towns and cities, to the phones that are in our hand or the laptops that are in front of us, and beyond. Engineering touches on all of those different aspects. It starts with a theory or an idea, which is then built in real life and used and maintained. And all of these different stages are governed by standards, which will be a really important part of your professional life. So, engineering, even the theoretical parts, is all about doing. Students with all sorts of academic strengths are attracted to careers in engineering, but one of the key components and a common theme throughout is a strength in maths. Engineering is a very in-demand skill set. Its employability outcomes tend to be a little bit higher than the national average, as do its starting salaries. So there's loads of different graduate schemes for different disciplines of engineering, and the starting salaries can be around about £30,000, and experienced professional engineers who are in managerial roles in large companies can earn upwards of six figures. The other important thing to mention about engineering is that it's a profession, so each different discipline has its own professional body. And career opportunities range from small consultancies, so one person working independently, right through to large multinational companies. And it also spans a broad range of sectors. So FMCG, so fast moving consumable goods, through to energy, which can include oil and gas, renewables, nuclear, to housing, to motorsport and beyond. There's also opportunities for an international career as well. So that could be a rotation as part of your graduate scheme in a sector like oil and gas, or it could be a temporary or a permanent assignment overseas. The photos on the screen here illustrate some of what our researchers and students do at Manchester, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in some of the later slides as well. So, in terms of entry requirements, on the screen here, I have popped up some of the common entry requirements. So they range from 3 Cs through to an A star and 2 As at A level, but most universities will tend to ask for grades towards the top of this scale. It's also important to say that these are the minimum entry requirements for universities. So to make a competitive application, quite often you're looking to meet and also exceed those entry requirements. So at Manchester, our entry requirements are an A star and 2 A's if you want to study computer science. If you want to study one of our MEng courses, it will be 3 A's at A level. And if you want to study one of our BEng courses, it will be 2 A's and a B. Students will normally have needed to study maths in all different disciplines, and either chemistry or physics, depending on the discipline that you're interested in, plus one other subject. This might be specified for some different degrees, but it might also be free choice. But it's typically a relevant subject for the degree that you're applying for. At Manchester, we do offer a foundation year. So if you have not studied the right combination of subjects at high school, or if you're coming from a high school background which requires a foundation year, then you can do an integrated foundation year as part of your Manchester experience. What you will find when you go on our website, and probably when you go on other UK universities' websites as well, is that you will see the A-level and the IB entry requirements as standard. But we also have country-specific pages. So if you need to translate those requirements into a national curriculum, then you can do that on one of our country pages. And I imagine that most universities in the UK will be the same as well. So in terms of the application process, there's various different stages. And the first one is to apply through UCAS. That stands for the Universities and Colleges Admission Service. And this is true for pretty much all universities in the UK. It's going to involve filling out some personal details, so things like your name, date of birth, etc. Some information on your educational background, so qualifications that you've already achieved and qualifications that you still have pending, which will include English language. You will also need to complete a personal statement if you're an undergraduate student, which will include a personal statement, so it's akin to a letter of motivation, and you'll also need to provide a reference. The application process for Masters and PhD students is very slightly different. If you have any questions on that, then pop it in the chat and I'll try to answer it at the end. So here we're covering undergraduate entry requirements on the screen. And like I say, the postgraduate ones are slightly different. Most students will apply by January for the year that they are interested in studying. You can apply earlier and later. Applications are open now, but you won't be able to submit your application until the 8th of September, and they run right through till the end of June. So there's quite a good chance to research the courses that you're interested in and make your application in good time. The personal statement, we've got a download here for you on the screen. So it is Manchester specific, but it's also relevant to other UK universities as well. So we tell you what universities in general are looking for. We also tell you what Manchester is specifically looking for. And then we give you a chance to kind of practice the structure. It's a very short document that you need to write, the personal statement, and it can be really challenging to fit in everything that you want to. So having that chance to practice the structure and making most of the characters that you have available is really useful. You may need to attend an interview as part of engineering. So at Manchester, we will invite you to an interview or a visit day if you are a UK-based applicant. If you are an applicant from outside the UK, we may invite you to either a telephone call or a Skype call, or it might not be part of your application process at all. It just depends on things like the degree that you've applied for. It varies across not only our university, but universities in general as well. It's also not necessary to have practical work experience. So of course, this can help you certainly in the research that you're doing before you make your UCAS application as an undergraduate student, but it isn't a factor for success. So even if you don't have any work experience when you apply, don't let that put you off. If you can demonstrate an interest and a passion in the subject, then you're still going to make a competitive application alongside the right grades. And finally, you don't need to sit an entrance exam. So in some countries, that's quite a common part of getting into university, but that doesn't feature in the UK application process. So moving on to talk about Manchester specifically. So the question why Manchester, for me, it can be answered in 3 parts. The first one is our size and diversity. The second one is our reputation and employability. And the third one is our physical location. So in terms of size and diversity, we conduct world-class research at Manchester, and that then informs the teaching that we do at both undergraduate and master's level. We've got over 40,000 students at Manchester. We are one of the biggest universities in the UK, and we offer 1,000 different degree programmes over all levels of study and within our 3 faculties. So we've got a Faculty of Humanities, which includes our business school. We've got a Faculty of Biology, Medicine and Health. And then we've got our focus today, the Faculty of Science and Engineering. So we're a world famous and really well ranked university, and we have societal social responsibility as one of our 3 core goals, which is unique within the UK. In terms of our academic rankings, we're currently institutionally, we're ranked 27th in the world by QS, and we also have a really rich history and heritage. So we've got 25 Nobel laureates who've either worked or studied with us in the past. We included in that number, we also have 2 current Nobel Prize winners, Gaiman Novoselov, the isolated graphene, which is the world's first 2D material, which has some really, really exciting applications, particularly for engineering. So it ranges from things like electronics through to textiles, through to even something like race car engineering. So for us, the discovery of graphene and its relevance to what we do in terms of engineering is something that's really exciting. And then finally, our physical location. We're a very, very friendly city. We're really centrally located within the UK, and our campus itself is really close to the city centre as well, which makes it an amazing base to explore. So there's approximately 100,000 students in Manchester, the city itself. So as well as ourselves as the University of Manchester, there's also several other universities based in the area. It's considered the second city of the UK, and it's also the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. It's very lively, diverse, multicultural, and there's always plenty to do. Alongside that, the university campus itself is very, very close to the city centre, and we're coming towards the end of a £1 billion campus master plan, which is a very, very large investment and quite unique in terms of UK education. It's also going to include a fantastic new engineering facility, which I'll tell you a bit more about in a moment. And finally, I just want to in terms of location, just want to show you a little bit about just how close we are to the city centre. So you can see the city centre outlined in yellow here, and the white outline is our university campus. So the main part of the university is located on Oxford Road. It's about a 20-minute walk to the city centre, or maybe 10 to 15 minutes either on the bus or by bike. That's one thing that our students seem to really like. So while you're on campus, it's a very scholarly environment. You really feel like you're at university. You're surrounded by historic buildings alongside more modern ones. You have all the facilities that you need at hand. And then you walk just a few moments and you're in the second city in the UK. It gives you that chance to switch off for an afternoon or an evening or even a weekend, to kind of have a little bit of a mental break from studying. It's something that we really encourage students to think about. So rightly so, you're going to be looking at rankings, reputation, facilities. That's definitely a good place to start. But another really important part of choosing a university is its physical location. So think about, do you want to be in a big city, or would you prefer a small town? Do you, for example, really like water sports? So is it going to be really important to be near a river, a lake, the sea? So think about not only the academic experience, but things outside of university as well, because 3 to 5 years for a degree is a long time, and it's really important that you're happy as part of that. So then just moving on to talk about graduate employability. So at Manchester, we strive to give you an experience that is both enriching academically, but also enriching in terms of your employability. And it's going to give you hopefully a competitive edge in the graduate market. So you can see here that 94% of our graduates are in further study or work within 6 months of graduation. Year before last, we were Times and Sunday Times University of the Year for graduate employment. And we are also 5th in the UK in the QS rankings this year as well. So the QS rankings is quite an important one, because it not only measures employment rates, but it also measures things like alumni outcomes, so the quality of the job that you're going for, links to business, the reputation of the employer, of the university in the employer world, so on and so forth, which kind of links to my next slide as well. So we are consistently the most targeted university by the top 100 graduate employers in the UK. We have held the top spot in that ranking on 11 separate occasions, and since 2006 we've never been out with the top 3. And these are some of the employers on screen that we work really closely with, and you can see here that some of them are really relevant to engineering, some really quite well-known names. So then in terms of student life, I mentioned before that the city itself is very diverse, and the same is true of the university. There's always loads going on. As well as being one of the biggest universities in the UK, we've also got one of the largest students' unions. It plays a really, really key role in representing students, and there's also many different activities that it's involved in: sports, hobbies and interests, so on and so forth. So for engineering, that is all the main disciplines of engineering which have their own society at the university, as well as an outreach society, an Engineers Without Borders group, a Women in Engineering group, and even their own engineering basketball team. So very active part of the Students' Union. Another key aspect of the university experience is accommodation. So here at the University of Manchester, you will be guaranteed accommodation for your first year, as long as you apply before the deadline. We've got over 8,000 rooms in 3 different locations, and there's really good facilities there as well for, you know, sports, hobbies, interests. We also include things like welcome events and events throughout the year to kind of help you get to know the people that you're living with, and loads of different choices in terms of the facilities as well. So you can choose an ensuite or a shared bathroom room. You can go for self-catered or catered. You can share with only other undergraduates, or you can share with only other postgraduates, or both mixed. And we also offer a door-to-door airport collection service. So when you first arrive to Manchester, we'll make sure that you get there safely with your suitcase and all those kinds of things. So halls is a really important part of the university experience as well. So now I want to tell you a little bit more about engineering specifically at the University of Manchester. So you can see here on the screen our 4 different departments, which cover several different disciplines of engineering. We've got lots and lots of different options in terms of the courses that we offer. So most can include an industrial placement or an internship if you want it to. Most can also include an integrated master's, and some can also offer study abroad. It's another really sort of distinguishing feature is the involvement that we have with leading employers. So things ranging from curriculum review through to guest lectures through to offering a placement. So they're really actively involved at every stage of the degree. So looking first at chemical engineering, so you're talking there about the transformation of a raw material into something, you know, processing that and using it in everyday practical life. So here at Manchester, we're actually the largest chemical engineering department in the UK, and we're also the birthplace of the discipline. We offer a specialist programme, chemical engineering within energy and environment, which offers some slightly distinct modules which may lead you down a separate career path to the kind of main chemical engineer career path. We offer some scholarships in this area, and we're also really well ranked. And you can see here some of the facilities and the experiments that we do. Also in terms of computer engineering, so again, range of different options there, everything through from a generalist computer science degree through to software engineering, and various different other specialisms such as AI. We've got a very low student to staff ratio in computer science, and we're also the birthplace of the baby, so the world's first programmable computer. So that kind of history and heritage in computer science specifically, and engineering more broadly, is something that we're really proud of, alongside our lab facilities and our rankings. Then we move on to electrical and electronic engineering. There, our expertise spans everything from really small scale nanoelectronics through to large scale power systems. We've got some amazing lab facilities for this branch of engineering: high voltage, photon science, power conversion. You will also be involved in projects throughout your degree, so both individual projects that you'll be responsible for completing on your own, and also team projects. And again, rankings in this particular branch of engineering are quite strong at Manchester. Moving on now to what we affectionately refer to as MACE. So these are very, very hands-on practical courses. You're going to be involved in the design and maintenance of engines and other power systems. We've got, again, very, very impressive lab facilities, which include wind tunnel, flight simulator, hydraulics lab. Another distinct option here is our mechanical engineering with management courses. So here you are replacing some of the technical knowledge that you would study in the standard mechanical pathway with some business specific knowledge. So if you are planning perhaps to go on to a career as an engineering manager, this is something that you might find really helpful. And again, very strong position in terms of rankings, 4th in the UK and equal 27th in the world. And just to finish, before we move to any questions and answers, I want to show you a little bit about our new engineering campus. So this is a really, really exciting development for us. So it's actually a hub of dedicated engineering buildings. It's very, very close to completion. So we'll be opening it in 2022. And it's going to be an absolutely massive facility. So the main part of the building itself is as long as a skyscraper is tall, and it's also going to host some of the largest research laboratories in Europe. So it's something that we're really excited about. I hope that it comes across in the video that we're about to show you. And if you have any questions, then please Okay, so hopefully that gave you a sense of what we're looking forward to here at Manchester. I know that there are some questions in the chat, so I think that Crona's going to read them out and I will do my best to answer them.
Thanks a million for a wonderful presentation. That was great and really exciting to hear about your new engineering campus. So let's start with some questions. I have a question here from Anna, and she's asking, what would the minimum IB requirements be?
Okay, so it depends on the subject that you are interested in. Across the university, it ranges from around about 34 through to about 39 IB points. For engineering specifically, off the top of my head, it is 35, but I'm just going to double check. Yes, it's 35 overall points with 665 in your higher level subjects. And for all degrees, it would definitely include higher level maths. And then depending on the discipline of engineering that you would be interested in, we'd also typically require either higher level physics or higher level chemistry and one other subject.
Okay, great. Now I have another question here from Amanda, and she wants to know, can you apply for two different subjects? For example, an engineering subject and something else?
You can. So through the UCAS process, you have up to 5 choices. You can definitely apply for more than one course at one university. The challenge that you might have is in writing your personal statement. I think if you were applying for one of the disciplines of engineering plus computer science, that would be less of a challenge because they're in some ways fairly similar. You could talk about the different skills that you'll need, the experience that you've maybe gained prior to applying. But if you were doing, I don't know, law and engineering or something like that, that would be really, really difficult personal statement to write because your personal statement, it's only one document which goes to all 5 of your choices. And so you're not name checking any universities. You are trying to kind of cover all bases with that document. So where you are applying for more than one subject, it can make it slightly harder to write. But yes, it's absolutely possible to apply for more than one subject, definitely.
Okay, great. Now I have a question here from Zeeping, and he's asking, what advice do you have if you're unsure what sector of engineering you want to go into?
Yeah, really good question, and very, very common question. So it's a position that a lot of students find themselves in. My main piece of advice would be to do as much research as you can. So certainly on Manchester's website and probably on all other UK universities' websites as well, we give a really, really good overview of the course. At Manchester, that goes down to the individual modules that you will study as part of the course. So you can look into what they will involve, how they're taught, how they're assessed. You can also find some career profiles of our previous graduates, what they've gone on to do. UCAS website is a fantastic resource. So it will give you a profile of each of the individual subjects. So you can go in and look at that to see a little bit more about what it involves in practice and then decide if it is going to be something that you are interested in. And then, of course, things like people in your network, teachers at school, SRT, all of those kinds of resources, those kinds of things can all help towards making the decision. But don't worry if you find yourself in that position because plenty of other people will too.
And I'm sure as well they could just reach out to you and you could pass them on to some of your colleagues. Yep, great.
And another really useful thing actually, which I've just remembered as we were talking there, is our UniBuddy facility on our Manchester website. So if you want to talk to a current engineering student, then you can just head onto our website and, ask them that question, like, how did you decide? Or, what's the thing that you like most about your course? And that can hopefully help you as well.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have a question here from Maximo, and Maximo is asking, would software engineering fall into electrical engineering?
Not at Manchester. So every university is different. We all organise ourselves in different ways. But at Manchester, electrical engineering is one discipline, its own separate department, and we have another department for computer science. So if you were interested in applying for computer science, you could either do a generalist programme or you could do something quite specific in something like software engineering. If you know that's the path that you want to go down, we do offer a software engineering programme.
Okay, great. There's something here from Isaac, which I think is just a comment rather than a question. I was thinking it could be a mix of mechanical and electrical, and at the same time, maybe chemical engineering.
Yeah, so we offer both specialisms at Manchester, and we also offer something called Mechatronic Engineering. So that is exactly combining both mechanical and electrical. So if you have those two interests, then you could potentially study that as a discipline in its own right.
Okay, and a question here from Nicole, and she wants to know, is it necessary to study chemistry in IB if you want to study computer science?
Not for computer science, no. The two requisite subjects for computer science are maths and physics.
Okay, great. So we have another question here, and it's from Lucas this time. And he said, what's the process for international students? So how do they go about applying?
So they go about applying in exactly the same way that UK and other EU students do. They apply through UCAS just the same as everybody else. The slight difference is that UK students have to apply by the 15th of January to be entitled to what's known as equal consideration, whereas international students can apply after that deadline if they wish. In practice, quite a lot of them apply in December and January anyway. But the process isn't different for international students. Everyone, including from the UK, has to say something about English language as part of their application process. So it is much and such the same.
Okay, great. And we have a question here from Evie. Evie, I think, is from Ukraine.
Okay.
Is it possible for a student from Ukraine to study in your university? If so, how can I try myself in admission? So again, I suppose she is looking for information on how to apply.
Yeah, so same thing is apply through UCAS as well. And coming back to what I was mentioning in one of the earlier slides, we will publish our entry requirements as standard for A-level and IB, but we translate those into individual national curriculum requirements in our country pages. So I will try to find the link and post it in the chat so that if anyone wants to go and see what the requirements are for their specific country, then they can do that for
Right.
Manchester. And I think that most other UK universities would be the same as well.
And I would suggest, Evie, if you want to reach out to Caroline directly, I'm sure that she would be happy to give you all that
Definitely.
information.
I'm actually the country manager for Ukraine as well, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great. So Jose wants to know about your foundation year courses.
Yep, so we do offer an integrated foundation year at Manchester. It is typically designed for people who either haven't studied the right combination of subjects, so maybe if you've done maths and humanities or one of the other subjects in humanities and you need 2 sciences for your degree, you can go for a foundation year. And it's also applicable to some people whose national curriculum doesn't entitle them to direct entrance into UK universities. So you do 1 year where you kind of get all of the skills and knowledge that you'll need to go into the first year. So we call that year 0, and then you proceed directly into first year the same as everybody else. So yeah, we do offer foundation years. At Manchester, they're quite broad, so our foundation year can lead you into a number of different pathways. So again, if you're not quite sure what you want to do, that's not necessarily an issue. So it's not designed for people who, for example, haven't necessarily got the right grades and they want to kind of increase their academic performance. It's more designed for either people who haven't studied the right combination of subjects or coming from a relevant academic background.
Okay, great. And again, we have another question from Jose. He said that he's going to graduate in November, but if he wants to apply for the next year in September, what would be the deadline and when should he apply?
So if you were graduating in this November, you'd be applying for September 2021. So you would be able to apply from the May, well, you could start your application in May, and it would be submitted from the 8th of September. So basically the following year from when you graduate.
Okay. The previous year from
Yeah, sorry, previous year. Yeah.
Okay, great. And what else do we have? Okay, so Bruno wants to know what English exam is needed to apply to the university, and should he have SAT?
Sorry, is that should he have SATs or should he have sat the English exam?
Should he have SAT?
Right, okay, yeah, sure. So we accept lots of different proof of English. So it can be something like IGCSE, it can be IB, It can be like TOEFL or Cambridge or IELTS. There's loads of different choices depending on where, you know, your closest test centre is, what your preference is, so on and so forth. Again, we do have various different scores that we require. So again, I'm going to find something and pop it in the chat to kind of let you see what our requirements are. Other universities will be very similar, but typically for most courses we require somewhere between a 6 and a 6.5 for IELTS, and various other different tests at slightly different scores.
Okay. And okay, so we have a question from Patricio. If I'm an international student with a Spanish passport, are there visa requirements?
It depends. It's quite a difficult question to answer. So if you want to contact me directly, you're very welcome to. In general, the requirement for visa depends partly on your or you know, your sort of status in the UK, depends partly on your passport nationality and also partly on, you know, where you've spent the last few years, things like that. So it does vary from individual to individual. So it's not really something that you can answer in this kind of forum, but more than happy to give individual advice at the end.
Okay, great. So Patricio, if you want to contact Caroline directly, and probably the same to Jan Eves. Jan is asking, will Brexit affect international students with an EU passport?
Yeah, so it depends again when you're starting studying. So if you were interested in starting this September, the government has confirmed that it won't affect anything. So you'll still be entitled to home fees and you'll still be entitled to the tuition fee loan. But just today, they have confirmed that for 2021 and onwards, EU students will no longer be entitled to home fee status or the tuition fee loan. So it depends, you know, what you're thinking about in terms of starting your studies. And then there's a few other different factors as well, but that's the kind of headline news for today, I think.
Yeah. So, and again, just get in contact with you directly for more information. I have a question here from Jose. Would a foundation year work for someone who doesn't have IB maths higher level and wants to get the necessary maths?
In short, it depends what else you're presenting with in terms of qualification. So again, if you want to chat about that afterwards, that's fine.
Okay, and we have a question here from Lucia. Lucia wants to know, what kind of scholarships do you have and who would be eligible for them?
So scholarships at Manchester are mostly partial scholarships rather than the full scholarship model, and they're mostly awarded on the basis of academic excellence. So if you go, let's say you find a degree that you're interested in applying for at Manchester, on the overview tab of that degree, it will say what scholarships we offer and how to find out more. Some scholarships at Manchester you're automatically considered for, so you don't need to apply, and others you need to submit a written application in order to be considered, so it varies.
Okay, great. Okay, so I think we've come to the end. Actually, no, we have one from Emily.
Okay.
An English title is necessary for a scholarship or the college in general. Not quite sure what Emily means.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, a scholarship or the college in an English title. Sorry, Emily, again, if you want to get in contact with Caroline directly and drop her an email, I'm sure she'd be happy to get in contact with you and discuss how she can help.
Definitely.
Okay, great. Well, that's the end of the questions. Thanks a million, Caroline. That's great. Really informative and a wonderful presentation. I'm sure you've inspired some of our audience to study engineering and to study at Manchester. So we're going to finish with one more video from Manchester. But before we go, I'd like to thank everybody who's been watching, wherever you are. In case you missed something, we will be emailing you all a recording of today's webinar, and we'll also be sending you the contacts for Caroline. So feel free to reach out directly, and I'm sure Caroline will be very happy to hear from you. So that's all from us for now. I'm wishing you all the very best. Stay safe and hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Now is the turning point of your life. Trepidation lingers as the familiar disappears, but embrace it. Revel in the tangled anxiety of the unknown. Great things await those that go in search. Manchester, this great city of trailblazing innovation, where revolutions find their heart and culture finds its soul, will subvert your expectations in the years approaching. These are the years where you'll discover who you are, the years where you'll start tackling society's biggest challenges and begin to make a difference to the world and the people around us. And if there's one thing we can guarantee, you too will change. You will grow. You're coming to a place that enables, empowers, inspires. A place that helps you realise the dreams that are sown here. Where your journey will intertwine and align with the paths of others, where the friendships you'll forge will last a lifetime. Here is a place where you'll grow to stand shoulder to shoulder with giants, side by side with friends. Break conventions, discover new ways of being curious, carve your own path. Pioneer your way of doing things because your way is the Manchester way. Whether you're coming from near or far, welcome to the University of Manchester.